The final art I want to explore on this journey is tegumi, also known as shima, a native Okinawan style of belt wrestling, often nicknamed Okinawan sumo. James took me to the home of Bunshiro Nagamine, one of the prominent teachers of the art here and an avid martial academic who has conducted much research into the history of Okinawan styles too. Bunshiro invited me to observe him training 2 local champions and even invited me to join in and have a couple of rounds wrestling with them. It's so hard because it's so effortless how they just lift you off the ground.
Yeah.
And I'm so used to from BJJ, like, oh, it doesn't matter if you get me on my back, I'll do. I mean, you saw I swept him over a couple of times, but you still lose your point, right? It's still game over.
If your back hits the ground first, that's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So, じゃあ昔と考えると、例えば今は祭りで沖縄相撲が残ってますね。昔々も大体その祭りの時は相撲のパフォーマンスとか相撲のが出てきましたと思います。
はい、神事だったので、お祭り、春や夏、秋の、農業とか漁業の豊作とか大漁を願う、そういうお祭りで神様の前で鍛えた体と技で捧げるという神聖な神様の行事だったので、それがその祭りでの。
Yeah, so Okinawa sumo performances were always linked to the seasonal festivals. So displays of these athletic displays of sumo competition would be sort of to honor the gods in the spring, summer, and autumn festivals.
And so, is there any connection to mainland Japanese sumo then?
そしてそうだね。だから日本相撲の大和相撲とどんな関係があるんですか？
自分はまず中国大陸から韓国を通って、琉球に来て、で、同時か後からは分からないんですけど、琉球からかあるいは、日本からかあるいは同時か、その流れた。で、自分はもしかしたら琉球から日本に行ったんじゃないかなって思う。その理由は、韓国はシルムって書いて閣力って漢字を書く。で、沖縄も閣力って書いて島っていうんですよ。島、方言の島。シルムと島で似てるから共通点がある。で、日本の相撲も昔は閣力って書いてて、今は漢字が変わってるんだけど、今でも相撲界のことは閣界って言うんですよ。閣力の世界って書いて、角角の会って書いて。だから、元はこっちとかじゃないかな、こっちの流れがやっぱ強いんじゃないかなと思うんですけど、向こうは向こうでも違う発展まだ神事もそうだけど大衆に見せるっていう部分がとっても強くなってたんだよ。
So yes, he thinks that these wrestling traditions came from mainland China down through the Korean Peninsula, and then down to Ryukyu, old Okinawa Ryukyu. Now they may have gone at the same time across to mainland Japan, but Buncho Sensei's feeling is that actually the tradition came down to Ryukyu and from there probably went up to mainland Japan. And one of the reasons he believes that is that the kanji, the kakuriki kanji that they have on the back of their dogi there, which is the old name for Okinawa sumo, this is the same name as you noted earlier was used in the old days in China. Also is the kanji used in Korea for the wrestling tradition. And that one kanji, the horns kanji, the kaku kanji, remains in the name of the mainland Japanese sumo organization as well. So Kakkai, so the sumo association, Kakkai. So you sort of have that connection there through the naming of the art. Then there are other arts which spread from Ryukyu up to mainland Japan. So it's not unlikely that the same thing happened with the wrestling tradition. And then from there it varied and became more localized, and therefore we see the differences today between Japanese sumo and
So I do feel it seems maybe the most similar to the Korean shirum that I've seen.
Yeah.
Like more so than say, Japanese sumo.
I think Bishop Sensei agrees.
ルートがいくつかある。 あって混ざってるとは思います。
It's possible that it came from a lot of different directions, he said, but there is a very close association between Sirum, Korean wrestling, and Okinawan wrestling.
三振と太鼓が面白くて、楽器の。三振はもう琉球から行ってるってことがはっきり分かってて、で太鼓は逆に日本から来てるってことが分かってて、で琉球文化にはどっちもあるので、やっぱ昔から。
So you can look at two other interesting examples of sort of culture and technology being traveling down through the islands. So, for example, the sanshin, the three-stringed musical instrument, we know came from mainland China to Ryukyu, and from there went to mainland Japan, where it became the koto. But there's also examples of technology or culture came from mainland Japan and was brought down to Ryukyu. So lots of things move in different directions.
And generally, how long has it been like a documented tradition in Okinawa?
そうですね。じゃあどのぐらい昔どのぐらいこの伝統がありますかっていう。
文献がないんですけど、600年前ぐらいじゃないかって言われてるんです。
So it's thought to be at least 600 years old. There aren't clear documented records of that, but they think about 600 years old. まあ中国憲法をね勉強しましたでしょうかね。中国憲法から例えば相撲に対して学歴に対してどんなことを思いました？
やっぱりマーブですよね。マーブ内反地立ち。この立ち方ですよ。
はい、この立ち方。
この立ち方が相撲ではこれもあるし、
はい、
でもこれもあるし、
はい、
これもあるし、
はい、
全部が同じなんですよ。ただ相手との位置関係で内反地になったり猫足になったり前屈になったりするだけなんです。
So these main stances that we have in karate, Zenkazudachi, Hanchi-dachi, Nekwasdachi, they all occur in sumo as well.
最初はこっちからあるし、始まってこっちでこっちであるし。
Oh, and in Chinese martial arts, we have the same stances, right?
まあこうなってるんです。こう相手にこうですね。でまたこうなったりもするし。
So pulling stance.
やっぱ立ち方がとても使える。中国武術の立ち方はもう空手でも相撲でも使えるなと思ってます。
So those stances that he studied in recently Chinese martial arts are the same that occur in karate and occur in Okinawan sumo as well. So my question to him was, what did his study of Chinese martial arts reveal to him about the connections with sumo, for example?
I suppose that leads me to another question, and as far as the actual training methods, I mean, do they just basically just do this kind of warm-up where they're bringing the hips and then they're just wrestling, or is there some specific like solo basics or mobility exercises that they're doing as well?
脚力の稽古仕方決まってある方ありますか？または各場所は違います
か？時代によって20年ぐらい前はもう砂浜を走ったり筋トレをしたりっていうとってもフィジカルトレーニングが多かった話を聞いてます。
So you said that 20 years ago here they did a lot more like hard physical training, so running up and down the beach and weight training and things like that.
Do I understand correctly that Bunshiro Sensei does karate as well?
そう、Bunshiro Sensei も空手やってますね。
はい。
Does he feel like there is any crossover between Tegumi and karate practice?
手組みと空手の重なるところかつながりはあるでしょうかね。
手組みって相撲のここですよ。重なる部分は、やっぱり腰の落とし方とかはあると思うんですけど、やっぱり違う部分の方がとても大きいかなと思うんですよ。自分もやっぱり共通点を探すんですけど、やっぱり型の中で一つだけ似てるのはこのですよね。この 腕州のこの投げるところがちょっと似てるかなっていうところはありますけど。
So he says the dropping of the hips and building a strong base in the hips seems to be something that's shared between karate and kakuriki. So there are lots of differences too. But for example, there's one move there he just did, which is a sequence from one of our karate kata called wanshu, which looks like an entry and a lift and a throw. So he's actively researching where there's an overlap between the traditional karate forms, for example, and sumo.
He said he feels like there's clearly a kind of physical connection, but does he know anything about... I've heard people saying that the Okinawan sumo tegumi is perhaps a precursor to Tei. Does he know if there's any tangible connection?
そうですね。まあ一部の人はT 昔の空手の T は沖縄スーモと関係がある、必ずあるという意見を持っている人がいるでしょうかね。どう思いますか？
はい、昔の方ではあると思いますね。自分もちょっと中国武術やってたんですけど、やっぱり帯を掴んで投げる間に目とかやられちゃうんで、あんまり実践的ではない気はするんですよ。だけど昔はやっぱりこう帯あったし、で、元は一緒だったのが分かれていったっていうふうに自分は考えてます。
So he thinks there was a connection between the old style techniques that were perhaps more for combat or self-defense and sumo, but practically if you've locked both hands into the belt, you're very open to being stabbed, slashed in the eyes, or you don't have much defense in a self-defense situation. So he said he's actually trained quite a bit of Chinese martial arts as well, and so he said he thinks that there is an overlap in the older arms. But from a self-defense perspective, the sporting form now is somewhat removed from sort of self-defense.
Yeah, so I suppose if you took away the belt grips and you know, perhaps a neck grip or something like that, it would be probably closer to...
そうですね。兄弟だと思うんですよ。文化のカルチャーの兄弟。
So that they're related in the culture, definitely. That's hard work, eh? How did you feel about that?
It's good cardio after a week of not really any proper training. But yeah, I mean, holding the belt, such a different center of gravity to holding the collar and the normal collar tie.
Yeah.
And the rules, you can't let go.
Yeah.
As soon as your back hits the ground, you're out, so you can't, sweep them or anything.
Yeah. You were doing some good blocking there with your hips in the stance.
Yeah, once I got the feel for it, I realised, once you keep your weight back,
Yeah.
it's easier to avoid them. But yeah, it's good. Yeah.